on the interwebs.
Hello.
Hello, interwebs.
Good morning, good evening, good night.
Now, often we jump on and we chat for 5 or 10 minutes before we actually hit live, but I was running late today, so we've actually done no banter. This is actually the legit pre-show during the show.
Can you tell that I need a haircut yet?
I wanted to say, Matt, I was about to say your beard's getting bigger.
Yeah, I've been strapped for time. Friggin' agents are flogging me.
I thought he was just happy to see you, Richard.
I need to move you guys up here too, so I'm not looking down weirdly.
Now, I found an article. I want to bounce off you guys that you might be more attuned to this, Dave. That when they did their trip to China, Zuckerberg and Elon Musk and all of them, apparently Musk and Zuckerberg convinced Donald Trump to not give his AI mandate order. And I don't even know what the mandate order was.
I'm not across that specific news article.
I'm not sure either. What were they saying that the Meta AI needed to do things for Trump or something?
So the headline was, right, and it's me, I'm as confused. I thought you guys might know. Zuckerberg and Musk convinced Trump to scrap AI executive order. Now I can't even find out what that executive order was.
Yeah, right.
I even used.
Well, if it's scrapped, then I guess it's not a problem. But
yeah, I mean, it was probably some kind of data sovereignty models, remote data center, China.
China virus. Yes.
Yeah, I don't know. Because I know, I saw the Bill Gates documentary on Netflix a few years back when Trump was in office the first time, and I know he stopped Bill from doing some of the nuclear power generation research with Chinese companies, and so Bill was experimenting with different ways of like liquid salt cooling and all that kind of underground nuclear things, next gen safer nuclear. But he couldn't get the funding to do it properly in America, and he was going to run off and do it in China. And then, Bill was very, very upset with Mr. Trump for not allowing him to go and proliferate nuclear energy generation in China. Now, given what I've heard during the election campaign around Trump's views on generalized nuclear proliferation and his fears of more nuclear weapons, maybe that played into it. Plus also the China threat and him worrying about them getting cheap free power and all kinds of bits and pieces. Like there's a lot of stuff going on there, I'm sure, that we will never know about. But it doesn't surprise me that Trump would take a issue with next generation advanced technologies leaving US borders to go live in Chinese data centers.
That's the thing that Reagan was talking about years ago, wasn't it? I heard about that this morning. And that, Japan did it with America and it backfired on them. But the US and China may be doing that together. I'm looking at an article that says AI regulations that were going to be federally run and not allowed to be run state by state for consistency moving forward. A national policy framework. Executive Order 14365.
Okay.
I wanted a uniform national framework. And of course, this would stop, I think, politically aligned states in the US going against the federal administration for political reasons rather than a united front when they go to negotiate with China and Russia and other people on that, on what AI uniformity is.
Yeah, I don't know enough to comment deeply on the specifics of that. Oh, by the way, but thanks for the spoilers, Richard. We finally finished Person of Interest, and for the last 2.5 seasons, I've been thinking your comments about how it ends, and it's just been ringing in my head. So I've the whole last 30 episodes, plus I haven't been able to properly enjoy because I'm like, where is this going? Oh, he told me it's not. Oh man,
so, I can't remember how it ends.
You said not well. That was enough.
I say that about all series that I like that I don't.
Poison apple the whole end of it, but
well,
yeah, a good show, great show. Again, like the way it was talking about AI and its ability to do things and track and monitoring movements and pattern recognition, like the fact they spawned that show 15 years ago, and they were talking about some of that advanced intelligence stuff. Pretty crazy.
Yeah, very true, very true. Well, Hal, close the bay door, please, Hal.
I can't do that, Dave.
You know what? I've actually never seen Space Odyssey.
Yeah, you should see it. You'd like it. It'd be a bit frustrating for you though, Matt, because your brain would be down the end of the movie.
Let me know if you can hear this.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm
Yes.
afraid I can't do that.
Yeah, got it on my soundboard. There we go.
Oh, really? That's cool.
Yeah.
The end of that film, there's a couple of scenes where he goes from room to room to room, seeing an older version of himself doing different things in each room. And I read the article the other day that explained what that meant. I won't read it out. You can look it up, but I've forgotten. But yes, it was quite advanced.
Yeah. Yeah.
Speaking of advanced.
Did you say speaking of advanced?
Yeah. I had put together this super advanced workflow. So like I had my workstation, my cockpit ready, and I was going hard. I literally, like, after Codex did a quota reset, I think that was about Friday or maybe earlier in the week. I can't remember now. It's been a blur. Anyway, they did a full reset, and I'm on the max Codex plan right now, and I obliterated that weekly reset. 50% of it was just gone in a day.
How's that possible with the 5-hour chunks? Like that seems insane that with the 5-hour limits, you can still get through so much weekly quota so quickly.
Zero clue. Yeah, I'm assuming the 5-hour is like more than 50% of the week or something if you do that. But yeah, it just went heavy, and then all of a sudden, the using like Codex through OpenAI as a provider for these agent harnesses, use the quota, it all of a sudden just stopped working. Like you were talking about some issues with Hermes before, and I was curious, like, if that was the same error.
Yeah, weird. Like trying to. So for the show, for the listeners, we'll get onto that as part of Wins of the Week, I suppose. But yeah, I think the way the APIs respond and when you hit usage limits and what these third-party things do with when they're rate limited, it gets really funky, and how they manage their fallback providers and all this kind of stuff. I've been on Struggle Street a little bit with. I think, it's one of those things where, and so it gets you to thinking if people are running these in business critical environments, it becomes really essential to have that multi-model fallback plan. But it sounds like we're talking about AI, so let's talk about AI. I like to feel fancy, like we're on a real television show.
Yeah. So like the thing that I was experiencing, like, when you open a website or something and it just sits there spinning, like an infinite loading, that was literally happening in my agent harnesses. So using Pi, using Hermes, using Droid, using OpenCode,
it wasn't even telling you that it was rate limited. It just was hanging.
Zero error.
It was just sitting there. Wasn't that fault you had last week with something down?
Nah, this is different. And made zero sense. And I completely table flipped because like I was working the hardest and fastest that I'd ever been because I had these huge deadlines coming up.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden everything stopped. So I literally had to pivot and move my entire workflow into a different series of harnesses and apps because this sort of seems like tinfoil hat, like a little bit of a conspiracy theorist moment, but I had to use Codex. I had to use the Codex CLI and the Codex desktop app. Nothing else was using that subscription inference properly.
Wow.
And
it's weird.
Yeah, what a journey that was. And now I actually really like the Codex desktop app. So
it's pretty good, isn't it? It's not bad.
It works great. And Theo had a really good video that I watched this morning as well, where he was talking about Claude Code's easily the one for just people that don't really know what they're doing to get into. It's the one that's the most gamified, the most instantly satisfying. It's fun to use, and you can still get good work done in it. And then Codex is the one that is for people that want to actually do work. It's the one that's not fancy, it's not shiny, it doesn't have gamification. It's just, oh, you want that fixed? Okay, there you go.
And it's got the multimodal stuff. It can do image gen built in. It's just like it's complete.
As far as end-to-end closed loop UI testing as well. So like just spin up, I always have my dev servers running, and the Codex can just open its own web browser now and click around. I'm like, I've been using Playwright for a really long time, but this just works better.
Yeah, it's just integrated into the development environment harness. And
Yep.
I was playing around with the game. I've been pausing on it for a few weeks because I'm using tokens elsewhere, but I was just experimenting building a game using Godot. And that was awesome because it would actually then, using the computer use, just fire up and start playtesting there. And I found that, and it could generate visual assets. So I started in Claude Code with it, but then I was like, I need some visual assets in this game. And so I moved to Codex, and next thing you know, it's generating assets and pumping them straight into the Godot engine, and while it's playtesting, and I was like, "This is awesome!" Like,
that's cool.
So yeah, the out of the box harnesses are really good for doing some of those jobs, but for the general agentic life thing, some of the new harnesses like Hermes are also pretty fun and exciting, and that's where I've been diving into when they work with the APIs and so on. So. Poor Richard's sitting there going, what are these two nerds talking about?
Have you got your Hermes agent running, Richard?
No, I thought I had Hermes, but I went and saw the doctor. He said it's okay.
Gave you a cream for it. Did you get your co-work working after all that with all the administrative permission issues we were having on your laptop?
Yeah, sort of. I've got to go back to it, but I've still got other problems with my laptop like yours. So I'll report on that next week. I was having a bit of a play with it. I've had a bit more success. I've had a little bit of a win there. So yes.
Yeah, because Richard has got multiple user logins on his single user laptop for reasons that are beyond the scope of this show. But co-work would work in one of them, but not the other. And I think it's because one of them had admin rights and the other one did not. Yeah. And so when we enabled your main profile that you actually like as admin, then it worked and stopped giving you that update error?
Yeah.
Brilliant. So we were going around in circles going and said, like, run the update to use co-work. And you go, you're fully updated. You're working in the other profile. What are you doing? No, close and re-update it. And I think it's because co-work wants to do stuff with the operating system. It wants to move files. It wants to have access to your desktop and do computer use or whatever. So it won't run if you're not an admin profile, which I thought was interesting on Windows.
Yeah. Yep.
That makes sense. It's sort of like in the land of Linux operating systems, it's kind of just like the super user do, the old sudo. So yeah, you kind of need to have admin rights to do some stuff, depending on like how.
But it's not obvious, and it doesn't tell you that. I was like old school debugging, just trying to work out why is this working in one of Richard's profiles but not the other.
Yeah.
Very frustrating.
Yes. Yeah. But I mean, co-work does some really good stuff, and like as you guys know, I've been running like hard in the co-work harness for a long time now, like a couple of months. That's a long time in this space. For doing
it's a very long time.
It is, right? Like, it's crazy. When I started trying to do my valid agenda business thing back in October, last October, I was all gung-ho for just teaching people how to use ChatGPT and do ChatGPT coaching. That was where I started. And I hadn't touched an IDE at that point yet. I was still generating some little programs for doing some trading stuff, and I'd been copying and pasting that out of ChatGPT browser sessions. Like, to where we are now, where, built and deployed full SaaS apps with APIs and MCP servers and everything else. It's just wild that in like 6-8 months, how quickly and how fast this landscape has changed to the point that I've gone from that to anti-gravity to manual workflows in anti-gravity to automated workflows in co-work to now moving to Hermes with automated project boards and stuff.
I had something very weird happen because, listening to you guys, and I got into the co-work, and then I suddenly looked like that.
Again,
I'm not used to looking like that.
I don't think co-work can generate that picture counter. That looks like a GPT.
I looked in the mirror after playing all the technology you told me to do, and I came out a hippie.
Yeah, fair enough.
It happens
free
to the
beast.
best of us. So with your Hermes, I'm super curious. I'm sure other people are too. Like, how are you running it? Like, are you using their live sort of web server portal, or are you just doing it through Discord or Telegram or Terminal? Like, how are you managing and maintaining it?
The short answer is yes.
All of it.
All of the things. As I go to the terminal sometimes for some debugging stuff, like today, where I've been trying to debug issues and things, and I do a little bit in the terminal because I'm running it on my Windows PC just in WSL, so it's just running locally. I'm not running a hosted VPS or anything, so it's just on my Windows machine.
Yep.
So I've got that, and I'm primarily trying to use it through Discord. So I've set up a whole hierarchy of Discord channels, and so I'm trying to have conversations in the right Discord channel. I've arguably got too many channels, like it proliferated and built me like 500 channels, and I probably need 5, given the way it works with threads and stuff. So anyway, I'm doing that. I've got Telegram, and I can use Telegram if I want. I get my gateway restart notifications on Telegram. But primarily Discord and the Kanban itself, just trying to like drop stuff in the triage queue of the Kanban.
Yeah.
And then let it read through that and allocate that. To the point that, because I've got Tailscale set up, I got it to set the web dashboard up so that way I can access it from my mobile anywhere. So I've got saved a Hermes icon to my iPhone home screen. And I tap that and it brings up the Kanban board for me, so I can actually access my Hermes Kanban anywhere, even though it's running on my home laptop, desktop.
Yeah, nice. That's awesome. Yeah, I was going to ask that if you'd exposed that so you could run it from your phone, and yeah, it's cool. I haven't really done too much with it. I had a quick play, and I think it would work really, really well with some of my workflows. I'm definitely using Hermes as just another layer in between. I've experimented with some of my individual projects just using Hermes and pumping 5.5 through it, and it's very interesting because it's it's kind of like a do everything agent, and it's sort of awareness of skills and being able to curate and create its own skills is interesting. But when it determines one being stale that actually is relevant and you just haven't used it for a while, that is potentially like a workflow problem. And I experienced that because all of a sudden it started doing weird stuff. I'm like, come on, man, you should know this.
I know I've got that concern too with its curated memory. I mean, it specifically only keeps like a couple thousand characters of memory, so that way it stays tight and efficient. But I'm running it across, 4 or 5 different business entities and projects and things. I'm like, how can that small, tiny memory know all the things it needs to know about all the different things I'm doing? And after watching a Network Chuck video, I've linked it up to Honcho. So I think it's getting some backup support from Honcho for memory management.
You should be able to see the Honcho traces and see like an example input payload and how it's...
I can go to the Honcho website and it shows me, 2,000 memories logged and stuff and how it's inferring gear.
Cool.
But the reason I'm loving it is, as you guys might remember, I was trying to build my own harness, which, has now... see this one. Is winding down. I've killed it. In favor, and I'm sending people to Hermes instead. I fully on LinkedIn posted a video of me setting a piece of paper on fire to indicate this, and I still can barely get any impressions and views on LinkedIn. Like, I'm freaking doing a video setting something on fire, and I still can't get likes. What's going on with this world?
Probably get banned for like arsony or something.
I mean, I think the problem is because I said I'm winding down Sargent.com, and it goes, oh, you put a URL in there. I'm like, I'm not trying to divert people there, but as soon as you put a URL in, LinkedIn goes, get down.
Yeah.
Keep people on my thing.
As well. I've got some auto moderation in one of my client apps where there's actually a community feature. He had a circle community, so he wanted to merge that functionality into this other app as well, where his clients do things. Anyway, I have auto moderation in there for the community feed, and when the business owner posts a message, it gets flagged for self-promotion, which is kind of funny. It's his own thing. Stop it.
It's an edge case you got to allow for. But my platform that I was building was this concept of having the business in a box and having different worker profiles that were actually hierarchical, talking to each other. So you could have compartmentalization. So when you talk about, token burn, rather than have mega prompts for everything, it would break the work down into little chunks and then feed that out to sub-workers who were very compartmentalized and specialized. They could keep their own memory, so they could try and iterate on their business unit to make it better. It's kind of trying to take some of the OpenClaw heartbeat aspects and that self-iteration stuff, but build it into this sort of structured business in a box thing.
Yeah.
Building a harness is really, really hard. And I think I didn't appreciate how much of the harnesses is actually deterministic code.
Yeah.
Where it's not actually LLMs making decisions at all. It actually really is just a program making decisions,
like,
old school wise, just from semantic text
layers
analysis
upon
and
layers
stuff.
as well.
And when you look at the way Hermes does, the first thing Hermes does on half the stuff you do is it references a skill about the Hermes agent to learn about itself and all these little things you don't realize when you just a dude going, I'm going to make my own AI harness. Like,
Yeah.
But the Hermes have this thing called the Kanban board, which I mean most people are familiar with what a Kanban board is nowadays. But this isn't really anything super sensitive from my point of view. This is me trying to build trading robots. But I've got this sort of Kanban board now where I can drop tasks into triage, and then when it goes through and does a review, it'll actually break them down and create them into to-do lists. And then, you got your scheduled, what's ready, what's in progress, blocked things. So I can come in here and go, okay, read some notes on this one. Failed to fetch. Oh, it's broken. My Kanban keeps getting corrupted. There's some bugs to fix here. It's actually, the bug I think is with my Windows file system, and it's actually doing this read, write, lock thing. And I'm trying to fix it. It's not perfect. Which, but that's why guys like us have to experiment with it before we put it into businesses.
That's where we come in.
But yeah, so these, I can click on these like a linear task. I can add comments, I can unblock it, and then it'll go back into in progress and stuff. But this ability to have these things, and you can see like I've got FX, OS, Ray, Harry, Perry, Felicity. So I've created different agent profiles, which is all my different personas that have different specialty skills. So it assigns the tasks to the right persona. That can all be working on these things, and it'll break tasks up and assign worker to other workers, and so it doesn't have that full hierarchical thing like I was building a Sergeant, but it's got 80% of the same functionality plus being built by a proper research lab, sophisticated harness. So that's why I'm like, I'm not going to burn more cycles trying to build my own thing. This is really good, and it's going to get better.
You could. I don't want to get you to pull the ashes out of the bin, but you could literally wire Hermes into that.
Nah, not doing it. Nah. I put it on LinkedIn, and a friend sort of said, if only you could fork Hermes and do something. I was like, no. I'm like, he's like, but you could get agents to do it. I'm like, no, I don't have the tokens. I'm not focusing on that. It's an interesting side project, and it's a diversion, and it's not going to make me any money, and so I can't afford to spend money on building it at this point in time. When we got research backed, funded teams that are building this sort of stuff, and they're doing it really, really well. But despite some issues with my own personal setup, as far as hard drive write issues and locking my database and corrupting it if I'm not careful, and I've just put through a fix to try and remove some of the journaling functionality, which should solve that. But I'm doing a live demo, so of course it was going to break.
Well, it's like back in the day when everyone was frothing on OpenClaw, and I built my cloud version of a railway template that was fully secure. It was super, super locked down, and then I had various layers of bubble wrap that you could remove. I could ascend that security tier, and even that was so interesting because by nature of me locking it down, it literally was deactivating and breaking certain features. So you could use it in the lowest security setting. It was basically just like a personal ChatGPT, It was just like a thing that had its own little file system that it could save files and read and write on that cloud container, but it couldn't really do anything. There was no tooling. There was, no web related exposure other than your own tunnel. And then that was it. And then when you ascended those tiers, all of a sudden now you could go, okay, now we have the ability to put API based tooling in it. So, custom binaries, like I could connect it to my core service, for example. And then web searching, which obviously without web search, it's kind of a bit dumb because you're just relying on internal and trained knowledge. But yeah, you're right. Like the whole building a harness thing and making it work and all of the variables, it's a lot. It's a hobby. It's kind of like when people want to get into coffee, if you guys, I can't remember if I've told you, like I used to work at a specialty coffee roastery.
Yep.
Which meant that I had to learn everything. Like people talk about getting barista trained. I was training baristas. I was tuning their espresso machines in the morning because they just couldn't pour good shots. Anyway, like coffee, proper espresso is a hobby. You can't just dabble. You can buy a Barista Express or some Breville machine and make okay coffee, but it's not the same.
Matt, I hear it's an art.
Define an art.
Good point. I can't do that. Sorry, you're right.
It's a hobby. It's like it's a profession.
Yeah, there's so much to it, and it's not that like and what I was doing with Sargent was getting there really well, and in some ways I was over-indexing on trying to do the user interface and make it really user-friendly compared to any of these other things where it's all terminals and entering this, and I was trying to make it a windowed experience and have really clear settings menus, and just trying to build the UX of it was actually a huge challenge to make it usable and functional and readable. And when I look at what the Kanban in Hermes does, where it shows me little task IDs with parents and children, and I'm like, oh, I had all of that with my work orders. Except when I clicked on mine, I could navigate through to the parent or the child, whereas the Kanban on Hermes, it's just a pill with no linkage. I'm like, why wouldn't you let me link and just open up the thing? So in some ways, I was ahead of the game, but in other ways, trying to get the tools using and getting it to read and write on the file system and do web search and build that tools meta layer, really, really tricky.
Yeah, it's cool. There's lots of stuff involved.
So anyway, I hadn't done any development on Sargent for a few weeks because I've been trying to, I've been focusing on Chart Reporter and AI operators, IRL events and other bits and pieces. So came to a point where I'm like, you know what, now that I'm seeing what Hermes is doing, I'm not going to spend the time trying to build my own thing that does the job. Like it was an interesting thought leadership piece and stuff that I was trying to put out there, and I think I can still claim a bit of that. And I've open sourced the Git repo so people can see what I was doing with my Rust based backend system and so on. If anyone did want to iterate and experiment with it, it's there. But
very
no
cool.
more.
One last note on Hermes in general as a project. I don't know if this will happen, but I was seeing some chatter on X about Space XAI. That's such a weird word to say now. The team behind Groq.
SpaceX.
Yeah.
It sounds like something that astronauts do in their private time.
True. No, so the team behind Groq, you guys know that they're partnering with Cursor at the moment.
Yeah.
So there's all of that Cursor training data that's going into the next release of Groq, which is going to be out in probably 2 or 3 weeks. So the current Groq model is it's 500 billion parameters, and it's okay. It doesn't perform, that well for the upper echelon of tasks. But this new one, their pre-trained one, is already miles ahead, and it hasn't even had the Cursor data put into it yet. So I think this new one, which is going to be a 1.5 trillion parameter model, as long as it's got the right architecture to handle that, is going to be genuinely competitive, hopefully comparative to what GPT 5.5 is now, or at least 5.4. Because that will then become, in Cursor they have Composer, so there's Composer 2.5 at the moment. I'm assuming Composer 3 is going to be Groq based instead of Kimi.
Yeah.
And then, anyway, what made me start talking about this is they are actually talking about purchasing Hermes. So imagine if the whole Groq system had Hermes actually running it with the
there's a lot of talk around how the Super Groq and the XO auth is working really well in Hermes apparently. I just bought $5 of XAI API credits to try and circumvent because I'm having issues with my Codex auth at the moment, and that's Groq 4.3. There's no fast model anymore. Everything costs the same amount. There's no cheap and fast sort of Flash Spark fast model at the moment. Maybe that's because of what you're talking about. That'll be iterated, and when Groq 5 or 4.4 or whatever comes out, the current model will be deprecated to be the fast model or something. I don't know.
Yeah, they should still have their previous ones. I don't think their endpoints are disconnected.
4.1 fast apparently EOL'd about 2 weeks ago, and it's not available. It doesn't pop up as a model to select anymore.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, so many different things to keep track of, like all the Chinese labs as well. Like,
Yeah.
I'm a huge fan of Minimax, and Minimax 2.7 has been my just general fallback go-to for everything. And their M3, so 2.7, like the next one's 3. It's going to be in the next couple of weeks, and it's going to they've never been state of the art, like actual top. 3 is going to be at the top, for sure, because I can't really talk about it because I don't really know too much about
that's fair.
the really deep machine learning stuff. But trying to understand their papers, it gives me a headache. But they're very confident in it, and it could just be marketing hype. But I'm pretty keen.
I think what's really interesting about all this sort of stuff, and Richard, to tap back into something that probably is easier for you to jump in on, is all this model stuff. I can see a point where, whether it's Opus or Codex or any of these, it will switch from a purely get it from us and pay tokens to a license and run it on your own hardware at some point. It has to, because all these open source models exist. And you can, put on LM Studios and Olamas and run a lot of these models on your own hardware, supposing you have powerful enough hardware. There's going to be a point where, and MIT just released a report, I'll see if I can find it, that sort of says that sovereign capability to have all your own data on your own metal and run your own agents and models on your own metal is going to be critical with the explosion of agentic AI in the enterprise. Like, A, people don't want to be sending it to who knows which data center with all their data in it, but B, just the cost and containing the cost is going to be critical in running your own models.
Yeah,
look, serendipitously, and I've been watching a few of the narratives and comments around, true general AI, and when's that coming, or AGI as they call it, artificial general intelligence, and the whole idea that agents start to build up like pathways in our brain, like, here's the language center, here's the mathematical center, here's the control, and that's all accelerating quite fast, and it's driving, I think, certainly the share price of people manufacturing the processes to do it on site and offload to certain algorithms or intelligence you don't need. But when you're mining your own data and you want to create a RAG and a sovereign AI environment that's protected, it's going to be big spending in this area. As a user, I always like to come back to, as a user, I've been using a few government services and health services and large enterprise services now. And I ran for a while with my friend Mike 24/7 AI, which was a BPO, chatbot AI business a number of years ago. And it was so rudimentary back then. Now, I was on a site recently, and the AI conversation that I was having was much, much better, so much more intelligent, so much more intuitive. I got through what I wanted to get done quicker. I thought I'm going to have to hit that button and say, please let me talk to someone. But it questioned me, took the answers, went to the right location, went to the right narrative, and said, that's okay, Richard, we're doing this, and on we went. So I think growth in CPUs, obviously data centers, I think networking is starting to explode again, because as you said, people are going to bring it back in onto their own metal. That means they're going to have to get the answers out quicker. So bandwidths on the inside, on the ingress and the egress are going to expand. And of course, the big one, we know in the background there's a problem with energy generation, but it seems to be as we need more energy, it goes up like this. The way we make things that uses less energy is also coming down a bit. So we're hoping they'll cross out quite neatly. And the big thing, of course, is enterprise AI integration. And it's the same story it always was. People with big software are writing nice big answers, but the customization of that for competitive advantage at the business end of a business is still going to be left to people like us to come in and plug those little gaps, put those little bit of mortar filler in between so it runs for the advantage of the organization. That probably wasn't the answer you were asking for, but I just thought I'd shoot my mouth off anyway. No,
it's good. I wanted you to jump in on this sort of stuff. So here's the report, the report about the report. My AI sent me this morning as part of my news review. This came out a couple of weeks ago. Sovereignty is the new operating system for agentic AI. New MIT Technology Review Insights report finds. This is a report about the report. You can click through and put your stuff in their lead magnet website if you want to get the full actual report. But 95% of organizations plan to establish their own AI and data platforms within the next 3 years.
They have to.
That's huge. So at which point, like, when are they going to want to run their own models internally, right? There's an interesting quote down here. Sovereignty defines which agents can touch in which region under which policies, blah, 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 blah. The big concern is if you're deploying an AI-infused application with a cloud-based large language model, are you losing your IP? Are you losing your competitive position?
Yes.
Yeah. Sovereignty is not... where was it? Where was the line? There was a line here specifically I wanted to read. So many bits and pieces in here. But basically, here we go. Thales, who are, defense contractor, argues that sovereignty is what unlocks the highest value AI use cases. So when you can trust the data is safe, when you can trust the models are safe, then you'll actually really give it things that matter from an enterprise point of view. If you're worried about, can I do this? Can I say that? Will that be all right? And you're pussyfooting around, then you're never going to really move the needle effectively. They're saying, if you can unblock these things by having those sovereignty controls in place, then you're really going to see the biggest changes.
Yeah, look, technology advancement and the sovereign data and the competitive advantage is what's going to happen. And it's always going to leapfrog it. I always think of that old marketing curve we used to talk about in all products, but especially in technology. And it's a marketing S curve, right? So people get a bit of the technology and they're like, oh, it's very productive, I'll use that. And it drops into what I call the trough of disillusionment, where people have got all this technology, the agents and all that. But like we're saying here, there's a couple of problems. It's not working here. But eventually it'll hit an angle where it's creating so much competitive advantage, so much benefit, it goes along. And how long that growth on the S-curve depends on how well you implement the technology, sovereign, not sovereign, the right data. And it could last you 20 or 30 years, or it could last you 3 weeks. And things are moving so fast. You need to have a handle on where your data is, what data it is it up to date, are you secure? Because sovereign says 3 things. It says I'm secure, it says I can trust the data, and it says no one else, and it says I'm getting competitive advantage because I'm doing it my way with my experience and my expertise. So it's going to be a really interesting advantage, and these competitive advantages that people are going to try and take from agentic AI and getting customization their way inside their organization is creating new consulting industries as well, like Syllogism. And to which we should point out that June 23,
yes,
in the evening at the Australian
Brewery
Club in just
Rouse
West Sydney, Rouse Hill. We're going to be there from what time?
6. Here we go.
We'll be there from...
Let me bring the thing up.
Oh, beautiful. Come and have a beer. And we're going to have a chat about this. We're going to get some people to talk about it and offer some real data behind it. And we're going to encourage the audience to contribute and talk to us about it, aren't we?
Yeah. So it's going to be a great night. Our first IRL event from the AI Operators banner. So yeah, 6 o'clock, doors open. You can't see the 6 o'clock on the side there. The barrels is there. Why isn't that showing? There we go.
And we're not charging for this one, are we, Dave?
This one's. I mean, you got to buy your own beers. We're not paying for the drinks.
No.
But yeah, people come. They can grab a beer, have a chat. We'll do some talks. We've got some local business people coming in to do some talks as well, and we're still announcing the speaker lineup. Going to be doing that over the next few weeks. And then a bit of a Q&A panel with more time for people just to, shoot the breeze like this. We've always said AI Operators is like a pub chat that we're letting people listen in on. Why not come along and have your own chat at the pub? And so, yeah, registrations via Luma. We've only been advertising for a week or so. We've got 14 going. There's only about 40 seats in the room. So, filling up.
Sean Barkley from Optus is coming. I know Sean and a few others. It's good. Some heavy hitters turning up.
Very, very good. So, yeah, looking forward to that. It's going to be fun to get out there and have chats in the community with people and not spend an hour. Sorry?
First prize door prize is a dinner with you, Dave.
Sure.
And last prize is 3 dinners with you, Dave. Just kidding.
Yes. Yeah, so that's going to be good. We're looking forward to that. But yeah, there's so much happening with this space, and yeah, I think on the models thing and running your own models, like I can't see OpenAI and that not offering some kind of self-hosted model in the future at some point, right? Like they're already doing with it through Azure and AWS, and maybe they're going, that's good enough because big enterprise organizations already trust Azure and AWS, and so maybe that's enough. But then I think you're still paying per token for those. You're not just paying for your hardware there.
Yeah, it's token. And then you also can deploy your own custom version of that on your own hardware. Like there's a company called Base 10 that's an American one that I have experimented with in the past, and it worked really good. One thing that I think a lot of people don't realize though is what actually is required to run some of the big models. So like Opus 4.7, Claude Mythos, as well as GPT 5.5, most likely this new Groq model that's coming. Like all these high-end big models, when they say big, they genuinely mean it. Like you remember the computers of the past, the take up a whole room. Yeah, that would be GPT 5.5. It would take up a whole room, if not
the old Cray, the Cray supercomputer.
Yeah.
Dr. Cray. I met Dr. Cray many years ago.
Really? With I love that they put couches in the computer. That was awesome.
Yeah, the design of the Cray had the seating
bench seat,
and you could, to get to the cabling, you lifted up the little seat. I worked for Control Data, of course. Their original CTO was Dr. Cray, and then he left Control Data to form Cray Computers. So I was in the supercomputer game, and it was rather amazing, some of the things they did there. I like what you're saying there, Matt. Get it up there. There used to be one of those sitting up in the Bureau of Met in Melbourne. Oh, that's ANU, isn't it? That one there is the Australian National University. I think I was there a few months ago talking to the guy running the supercomputer there. The one in the square box, not the other ones.
Yeah. No, I love that they built a little couch on the outside of the computer.
Yeah. Well, it was, as an engineer, we used to find it fun because we would sit down.
Because Richard, you said before, with networking and people needing bandwidth, the world of LLM inference, the bandwidth metrics there and the actual, I don't even know. Like I've started to look into local hosting just for myself, but that's one user. As soon as you have a company that has 100 users, 1,000 users, and they're trying to all pull from their own sovereign infrastructure, you have to start scaling.
When I was, had big dreams about Sargent, and I started building it and thinking about the potential for it to not just be a desktop personal agent, but roll it out to teams and roll it out to enterprises and have a cloud version, but then a self-hosted version of the Sargent harness where you could have deployed all of your enterprise and have every worker has their own little business in a box with their own virtual team. I started doing the maths on the tokens, and I can't remember off the top of my head, but it was going to be, hundreds of thousands of dollars of tokens very quickly. If you want to roll this out across a workforce of 500 or 1,000 people or whatever, to the point where I started getting into sort of forecast out the maths for paying for the metal for that kind of stuff. And it became pretty relevant, pretty obvious pretty quickly that if people really want to deploy mass agentic systems out, there comes a point where you stop paying for tokens and you start paying for server cycles instead. Look, that's going to become a lot cheaper.
It's the client server versus on-site versus off-site efficiency cycle model, and it's influenced by the bill shock model, which we know quite well. So wherever the most cost-effective place is to do the processing, and wherever the most cost and easiest way to get the information to the right people, the right applications at the right time will drive it, and that will continually move. We've seen the client server model move, and we've seen the cloud model move. A lot of people bringing things from cloud back in-house because it's a lot cheaper to do some of their processing in-house rather than with the bill shock they're getting from the hyperscalers. And that's not going to be different to AI. And it's going to create a very positive competitive environment for cost-effective use of AI in the future, I think.
Well, I think NVIDIA sell, or they like there's various versions of it, but it's based on the NVIDIA DGX or something, Spark, whatever. Yeah. But they're about $8,000, I think. So for $8,000, you can have a reasonably half decent local model server running on your LAN. That's, I think for your tech nerds and people that are really intense into this, or you're working from home people, that's going to become more and more likely. The same way people go, used to be like the joke was, oh, you wouldn't run your own power station, would you? You centralize all that, but now everyone's put solar panels and batteries on their house.
It's all about cost. It's cost and availability and the cost of transmission.
So there's going to be a point where, that's part of a standard house setup. Not only do you have a data rack in your brand new build, but you cost in, there's a Tesla battery for 10 grand and there's my model host for another 10 grand of hardware as just part of the build of the house, because I want to have the smart house. I want all the smarts.
Do we want a house to be a data center?
Well, yeah, every house. Well, not every house, I'm sure. That's an overgeneralization, but it's going to be a lot more prevalent. The same way that people that are getting into Bitcoin buy their Bitcoin nodes and they run their own Bitcoin node in-house. It's all part of that sovereignty conversation.
Yeah.
Different kind of sovereignty with the Bitcoiners, but
I've seen some presentations recently of various architectures for AI. One particular chap put up his Mac Mini as his central processing point with links to all the LLMs and links to his data through, G Drive and iCloud and all of that. And he's brought all of that together. But as you're saying, Dave, will that scale?
Yeah, he's going to hit hardware limits of the Mac, and then the new Mac Minis and the Macs are very good and they can do a lot. But there's a reason why Nvidia stock has gone up a lot over the last few years, because the GPUs are really good for running these models and things on, and GPUs. Yeah, I mean, it's just one of these things. We're going to see more of it. Like, there's going to be more of that, and at the personal level, at the small business level, and at the enterprise level. Back when I started doing IT 20 plus years ago, it was really common that small businesses had a Microsoft Small Business Server 2003 in the corner that ran their user logins, that was their file server, was their print server, ran their Exchange for their email. Like, they ran that. There was no cloud hosting for this sort of stuff. You ran your own SMTP and POP server or IMAP server off an Exchange box that lived in your office in the corner. I worked for a Smash Repairers at one point. They had a little server rack in the corner running an SBS 2003 edition. Like, this was the thing. Like, and I feel then everything got outsourced into Office 365 and Azure Cloud. But some of this sort of stuff is going to head back out to the edges.
It is. No, you're absolutely right. It'll be a cost, processing power, availability, accessibility model, and it will continue to change.
You're absolutely right. The idea of the economics of token-based pricing, there's already companies, like big enterprise companies, that have just turned off their company's access to Claude and stuff like that, because their budget for the year is blown out in a month. And like companies like Uber, and I'm pretty sure even hilariously there was a presentation of Microsoft using Claude agents. So yeah, it's just going to keep getting more and more interesting.
Yeah, I've cancelled my Claude. I was on the Max 5X, and that's Australian 150 something a month.
Wow.
And I have been maxing it. Like last week, the last 2 weeks, I was like 90, 100% by the time I hit my refresh. Last week, and then I got scared off, and we've had a lot of stuff going on in family the last week. And so last week I only used like 60% of it, if that. And then this week I was back to 90% before reset. So it's not like I'm not using it, but I'm also going to offload a lot of that stuff from Cowork into Hermes. I'm also getting more efficient with the way I'm using it. I was like 5x, I've got tokens to spare. It doesn't matter if my processes aren't super efficient. They're running anyway. I've got enough tokens. Whereas now, as I move to Hermes and I'm trying to bring the cost down and optimize, for my own, hip pocket, but also because these are lessons I want to be able to help other businesses and customers with, right? That's half the point of doing this kind of thing.
Yes.
And going, well, I was just bringing all the data in through some MCPs and making Claude do all the disaggregation and filtering and sorting. Hey, Hermes, let's build a few like N8N workflows that pull the data. Let's keep track of the delta of what the old data is, what the new data. So when you do a pull for the morning review, just pull the newest version of the data. You don't need all the old data to sift through as well, and really start optimizing how much data I feed through and how many tokens I'm going to burn on my daily workflows, right? And so there's a lot of that work you can do.
A specific question that people who watch this will probably be asking. I'm a medium-sized business. Let's say I've got between 50 and 100 employees. I've got calls coming in, meetings organised, product shipping out. I've got to schedule services, things like that. And I'm looking at going into AI to help me clean up, maybe redeploy a number of those people that just do paperwork and systems that could be automated. If I'm looking at that, where do I start? What do I do?
It's a great question. I think because I've had a few of these chats recently, the biggest thing that always comes out is if you're the business owner in this case, CEO, the operations, who whatever, you actually don't know your system as well as you think you know.
Yep.
That's where it comes down to first. It's understanding system decomposition and just purely that, just systems decomposition. You could look at it as like you draw on your whiteboard the most zoomed out version possible of your business, and then you pick one of those blobs and then you zoom into that one and draw that one again until you understand who's responsible for what those processes are, what the actual sovereignty and provenance of those processes are, and where everything goes, where's the time spent, and which tools are actually involved here by which person. And until you can define that, you won't know, because that's what someone like me would say to you is we need to get this mapped out before we do anything.
Yep.
So you either do it now or you do it when you start consulting.
Absolutely. What do you think, Dave?
Yeah, I mean, with that 50 to 100 people thing, it's where is the value going to be driven? And it comes back to, like Matt said, what are your core processes and where are the bottlenecks? Where are the costs? And are you augmenting everyone, or are you just augmenting and automating specific parts of a process that multiple people touch? Like, that's an area where there's probably not an ROI on giving all 50 to 100 people their own personal agent, their own personal token subscription.
Yeah.
That's where you are looking at, putting in a centralized system that has some agentic knowledge or summarization or coordination skills involved, but it's more at that sort of systems factory line point of view than virtual employee sitting at everyone's desk.
Yeah, the way that I would sort of define what you just said is it's not about replacing or automating people. Like you use the term augment. Augment is the best way to describe it.
I'm with you on the augment.
Yeah, because your people already exist. Like if you want to just cut people out of your business, fine, that's your decision. But they already exist. They're already there working. You know that they're probably wasting time on certain things. So it's not about their position. It's not about their role.
Efficiency.
It's about their individual workflows, their actual tasks, and the granular steps of each piece.
Yeah.
That's where you need to look at augmenting or automating those little individual pieces.
Yeah.
And how do you do that most effectively? And I think Sean even raised this a few weeks ago when he was on the show talking about, that data scatteredness. And the first thing most businesses need to do is actually audit where all their data sources are and potentially sort of rationalize some of their data infrastructure in order to make it accessible for agentic systems and automations. Like a lot of the things and improvements are just automations and wiring systems together that don't necessarily need a lot of agents. Like I said, even my morning reviews where I'm pulling all my emails and doing this and that and the other, half of that is just in the workflow step. I was making the AI do all of that with Cowork because I could. I said, yep, go pull the emails and then sort through what's new today versus yesterday. And now I'm going, no, I'm going to have a workflow that knows we already looked at yesterday's emails, just pull today's ones and pre-filter those and then just give me the meaningful bits because that's what actually matters. And so it's easy to be lazy, but as the costs go up, the value is not there to be lazy, and we need to be really targeted and specific. And you're going to see a lot more of this where people that are running a lot of agent experiments will be shutting them down and turning them off, I think, because there's no value there. It was just, oh, well, that was fun while it lasted, but it didn't really matter. Let's get back to work.
Back to the person getting the Windows program to run their house. It doesn't really add value. So I suppose what you're both saying, and I agree with, is know your process, know what your business does, know the touch points, know where your data is. And then the other thing is, I think it's know what your unique value is. What part of that process has made you successful above everyone else or kept you in the game? And I think there's going to be some real exciting and interesting things for businesses to discover in that area. They may find it's the receptionist who treats everyone on the phone or comes in really well, and they come back because of that person. And I think one of you mentioned it last week. One of the heads of the AI thing said, get your mental health get your soft skills, get your emotional intelligence intact, because that's what's going to differentiate you in the future, not process, because process will be able to touch, feel, automate, move, but it's what the humans do with that that's more important. In IBM, when I worked at IBM, there was something like 40,000 daily reports were produced on the massive data processing around the globe for IBM, right? Now, I'm sure these reports, everything from, leave and who broke their leg last week and who got a promotion and who's going to get one and all of that. But they found out between 1% and 5% of those reports were of any value to anyone. And they found out 0.01% of them got read. So I imagine a world in the future where we're not focused on the reports at all. We're focused on the process and the agentic automation of that process. Then we don't need reports to tell us it's speeding up or slowing down. Do you know what I'm saying? It's like, why would I look for improvements? I know where it is. I don't need it's 2% better than it was last week. I just need to know that if I accelerate that, my business value goes up. That makes sense?
It does. It's so strange. It's like when people say that I always would prefer human service over, work doing the self-scan at Coles. And my dystopian kind of take on this is that it's a weakness that we have as a human being to need to have this connection. If you didn't need that, all of a sudden everything is fine and like all the issues of the world kind of reduce.
COVID taught us that.
But yeah, right. So the concept, it remains and it will persist, and if in perpetuity we need human interaction, and that will define a lot of our own values and a lot of our own decisions. So it's exactly what you just said, Richard. Like if there's a company that's like, man, we've got this receptionist that's doing nothing, like we can just replace that with a voice AI, surely. But all of a sudden they're regular people that only came in to speak to that receptionist. It's a consideration that they have to try and make. Like when you talk about like your individual sort of method, like the reason why you're successful, like your unique spice compared to your competitors, it's usually a human thing. It's very rarely like some sort of secret process like KFC spices, it's usually something to do with like, oh, I just like that company better because I don't know, I just like them, like it's some sort of weird human thing.
And I use this example, I think the first time you guys invited me on to be a part of the team, and it was the customs officers in the UK, because sometimes, as you said, you don't know why you're so successful. You keep doing things well and improving. You tend to throw a lot of good stuff at a lot of different moving parts. And of course, they were trying to spot people that were doing something criminal that were coming through Heathrow Airport. And they tried to capture it on software. This is like, I'm talking 35 years ago. And they weren't sure. And they had, I know anyone who's been through Heathrow, there's all those mirrored windows you walk past. And you know that on the other side of there's probably a dozen agents taking notes, probably some facial recognition software, all that stuff. Human agents, yes. And they're all taking notes, looking. And so they couldn't get, like, they still only got 50-50 on who was a crook. But the customs officers, they were 95% accurate. So something was wrong between getting the AI or the algorithm to spot a crook and not. And so they went to the officers and said, what is it? And they said, oh, it's in the eyes. We can always see it in the eyes. So what they did is they turned their analysis not onto the people, but onto the customs agent on what they did to spot. And it wasn't the eyes. After they did all this exhaustive, and I won't go into all the details, they found out, and a lot of criminals might be listening to us today, it's the stiffness of your neck, right? So the customs officers would see the eyes and go, and if they were going like this, they get an easy lock in their eyes because they're not moving their neck much because they're uncomfortable and they're stressed and they're probably doing something illegal. It was just the most amazing case study of they spent millions trying to find out how do we catch someone for being a crook. And there's other ways they do it, in the gait, in the way they walk, in all those things. But you need to be open to identifying what it is before you can capture it and reuse it and accelerate it. It's going to be a big change, an interesting change.
It makes me think of big data and like people getting tracked in their behaviors online, getting identified and hypothesized and potentially extrapolated, like, what's this person doing and what are they thinking and what are they going to think in the next few weeks. Yeah, I love all that stuff. It's very interesting.
Watch Person of Interest.
Yeah, that's good. I need to try and find some time.
But I mean, the end point of that is the whole pre-crime issue, which Minority Report highlighted,
What a great
which we've got to be careful of, right? Pattern behavior and past recognition isn't always the definite predictor.
Oh, you can get it wrong. You get it wrong. My mum was one of those receptionists at the local real estate agent, and they had an extremely high amount of business. And I remember someone walked in and they were talking to my mum. I was sitting in the reception waiting for her, and someone else popped in and said, "Oh, why are you using these guys? They charge way too much money." And the guy just quickly turned around and said, "Yes, but I don't get to talk to Pat. And if I couldn't talk to Pat every day, I wouldn't care." So that was my mum. So you're right. Human connection is the thing you want to accelerate the most.
Although I go to the checkout and I go to the human, not because I want to have a chat with the person specifically. I just think it's good that we still employ humans, and they're not paying me to check out my own groceries. If they gave me a 5% discount for checking out my own groceries, then maybe I'd do it. But they're not. So they can pay someone to pack my bags for me.
I agree. I find it a problem that I have to pack my own bags. I think that's insulting.
Although my wife prefers packing her own bags because half the teenagers that do it are useless, and she's like, "No, why do we have to go through a human?" Like,
you would be amazed. I accidentally talked my way into, and I won't say who, one of our largest supermarkets' secret labs, and how they were using AI to track what we grab it charge when you get there, which I think happens in a number of places already, and we'll start to. And the amount of technology they're using to track what we do and how we do it, it's. I don't think we're going to have checkout people in very much longer.
Well, that was the Amazon. Amazon had that store where you'd walk in and there's some kind of RFID tag or facial recognition that picks up who you are. You'd walk in, grab stuff off the shelf and walk out, and it would just come off your Amazon bill.
So I'm not sure if this is sure. You're exactly right. But sometimes when I'm trying to use the checkout and it's not working, it knows what I've put on before I put. There are a number of cameras doing your stuff. So I don't think they actually need the checkout scales and the barcode scanners anymore. I think they're getting close to not needing that at all.
I do like that they're using the picture recognition, so that way you don't need to tell what kind of fruit or whatever, or it narrows it down very quickly to the green fruits or the yellow fruits or whatever. Like, some of that sort of stuff's pretty handy. But yeah, I as a rule, unless I'm in a real hurry or would like to just get one or two things, or sometimes they just don't have the humans open, I will generally stand in queue and wait for a human, to the point where they've actually had to open up extra checkouts because there's a few of us waiting. I'm like, excellent, that's what I want.
I love it. Very true.
So so my journey is going to continue this week. It's trying to find out what other models and subscriptions and things I can do to replace my giant Claude one. I've got a couple of weeks left of my Claude sub before that expires, and so I'm still trying to max that and balance between Claude and other things. But I'm if anyone in the audience wants to reach out to me and tell me you've had great experiences, with Minimax or Kimi or GLM or Grox or whatever those things are, I am looking for options, because it's one of those things. Like, I can do the report, I can, and I've had Claude and ChatGPT and Gemini all go and do deep research reports going, you could use this plan and this plan and this plan and this and pay for that one by the token and the API. And I'm like, there's so many different options, and what if they all suck? I don't even know. So I just want back to the connection. I would like some humans to say, hey, I found really good experience with this, and the $20 model gave me heaps of usage, or that one was better to be on the API usage and I smashed it and only paid $10, like whatever those stories are. But no one's really talking about that, and you can't find that easily online. And the hype bros are just hyping, and they don't even care how much money they're spending on tokens. I think they're just making YouTube videos out of it all. So
I probably have a lot of that information for you already.
You probably do, Matt. But sometimes I feel I'm like, you've got so much information sometimes, and you say, just do this, 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 and this, and I'm like, there's too many options there. Like in that group chat where I was saying, what are the options other than these models? And I would like, I talk to you all the time, and I like your input, but I was hoping to get the broader consensus for other people, but you just put it like a million models, and then I think everyone's like, I'm too scared to answer now.
Dude, just OpenCode Go. Just get an OpenCode Go subscription. It's $10 US, and that will get you everything that is just not Frontier.
Yeah. Okay. OpenCode Go. I'll look at that. Apparently, the Nous research one comes with some great, like, included Firecrawl type stuff and that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that one's also 10 at the minimum.
And I'm looking at the Super Groq as that evolves, because that's got pretty good image and video generation.
Yeah, and voice. So if you're wiring and voice stuff. But yeah, as far as your own personal subs, stick with OpenAI for the work you're doing. And if you need to add Claude into it, then I would do it through Cursor at 20.
I definitely need additional models in Hermes, because my ChatGPT 5-hour one, I'm just maxing all the time at the moment.
If you just need it for Hermes and it's just for agentic tasks, then do the either OpenCode Go or Minimax, and the Minimax $20 one.
All right. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Well, good.
All right, guys, we are over the hour. We didn't do all our little segments today. We've nerded out on Hermes chats and things. So with some sovereign discussion sprinkled in there too. So
it was good.
Yeah. I think the place is moving fast. If you joined us on the chat, thank you. You didn't join us. No one chatted with us today, but we've had a handful of people watching us live. I can see that in the numbers. So thank you for joining us. Hope you enjoyed the nerdy brainstorm chat there as well. Have you experimented with Hermes? Drop a comment in the video. Comments help the algorithm show our chats to everyone. Make sure you hit the subscribe button and the little bell icon so you get notified each week when we go live at midday Wednesdays, East Coast time. So do that. And if you're interested in the live event, go to AIoperatorspodcast.com, and there's a link to the IRL event there where you can register to join us for a beer and some discussion out in Rouse Hill. So thank you, everyone. Appreciate it, guys. We'll see you all same bat time, same bat channel next week.